Assalamu alaikum and hello everyone. First of all, I would like to welcome everyone in Zishan on Air Radio's program. We're just getting started. And today is also Eid. So, again, welcome to all of you. So, I'm just back to back. Obviously, on the day of Eid, you're meeting a lot of people. And then, not only a lot of people, I just want to make sure that we are live. And I don't see the hello. Now we're live. So for some reason they just changed the mic on me. So all those who are watching me live, that's why I was not hearing myself on the headphones and being on the radio and TV and in the social media for many years. You right away recognize that something technically not going well. So that experience, that's why experience always matter. So without any further ado, I would like to welcome all of you and all those who are watching me live. This is the behind the scene you just saw in the past few seconds. Let's dive right into today's key topics. And again, Eid greetings and a very happy, peaceful, and prosperous and joyous festivities. Those of you who don't know what Eid is basically one of the biggest festival of Muslims all over the world. They are obviously they sometimes they say it's 2 billion. It could be even more Muslims because who's counting and not everyone gets counted. So anyway, the most important thing is that it's after the 1 month, almost 29 days, or in some cases 30 days of fasting, and then it's called Eid al-Fitr, and then Eid al-Adha is actually the bigger Eid. Adha means bigger, and that is that sacrifice of the animals, which basically is goat or lamb or cow, and that's basically that sacrifice is given, and the meat obviously is distributed to the poor people. That's coming up in 2 months. That's also at the time of pilgrimage, which happens in Mecca. So just some background, a lot of people don't know about Islam, and there's a lot of misconception, and because of unfortunate events that people use and hijack the name of religion, happens in many religions. And unfortunately, Islam also have people, and people are complicated at times. And because of wrong interpretations, extremism, and all that craziness, I would say, and we have to learn. And everyone should be a student all their lives. No one is a scholar. I tell you this. Yeah, there are a lot of sheikhs. They call themselves a lot of scholars, and they think that they've conquered it all. They haven't. They're still scratching the surface. And that's all I'm going to say, because this is a beautiful day, and everyone exchange gifts, and kids and families and adults and youngsters and elders. They all celebrate and wish each other Eid Mubarak. So if you come across any Muslim, you can wish them Eid Mubarak. So think of it like the equivalent, sort of like Christmas, in terms of the biggest festival or the occasion of the year, and then obviously Thanksgiving. So that's Eid. Now, today I will keep it light because it's a day of festivities, but news is news. So those of you who are watching me live, I'll just start with some of these key areas in terms of what is happening around us, because we got to make sure that we stay up to date, and we also stay very focused in terms of the news, because there's a lot of misinformation that is also out there. So without any further ado, let me just first of all start with the mass deportations. And these mass deportations are happening. Violent criminals are being sent back to their respective countries. But one case is of this illegal resident, Mahmoud Khalil. He is a graduate student at the Columbia University. He's still behind bars. And there was and he's married to a US citizen, by the way, and he has permanent residency. And because he organized these protests and encampments and these camps at the Columbia University, and then he was also the lead negotiator who negotiated between the Columbia University's administration and management and with the students and protesters. the negotiations in terms of how they should end their protest. So this recent poll, Rasmussen reports, this poll happened March 2025. 45% of I would say voters as well as Americans said they basically are saying likely 45% of likely U.S. voters believe Khalil should be deported. So this is the sentiment out there. 38% disagree and 18% are not sure. So what does that tell us? That tells us very simply that this is definitely an era where people are definitely feeling that you should not be a troublemaker, and especially at the universities. Now, it can be argued in different ways, but all I can say is that this is the poll by the people. And we cannot just ignore such polls just because we happen to disagree or look at the different angle, because lives were lost and more lives were lost on the Palestinian side, but also lives were lost on the Israeli side. So it's a very tragic situation. That's all I'm going to say. And with regards to the Middle East, so hopefully President Trump will figure out and help us and the entire Middle East situation is resolved by Steve Witkoff, and then also with regards to the administration's policy toward the Middle East. So elections have consequences, and this is another area where we have to be cautiously optimistic. With regards to this map showing U.S. embassies posting warnings now to people applying for visas, very strange, but this is where the administration is certainly sending a message out there that, hey, if you want to be in the U.S., you have to follow the rules and laws of the U.S. And this is where the lawlessness cannot happen in this country. At the same time, a lot of people, they migrate, they try to flee their countries because there's lawlessness, corruption, what have you. And then they come here and then they think that they can also do the same kind of corruption or lawlessness, or literally show off all the looted money with regards to whatever parties or whatever they throw. People are not stupid, and it happens in many communities. And that's the ill-gotten wealth. And because it's money laundering, because they took bribes, they took different contracts, what have you, and then they spend that on different types of activities, throwing parties or throwing different types of events, what have you. So, and buying properties, although there are laws, but sometimes they buy it on cash. And then obviously it's business, so sometimes it may not completely be checked, but there are any anti-money laundering laws, AML. So this is why it's important that those who have migrated legally with legal channels, let's leave those kind of bad baggage and policies wherever you have come from. So that's why the arguments are very important in terms of how you present your arguments these days, because it's a slippery slope area where you may find yourself in a situation where many other Americans may not agree with you at all. And this is where my focus is, that we've got to make sure that somehow we have this kind of discussions where we try to keep the facts, because facts are always going to be facts, and stay truthful messages and stay on those truthful messages. So GOP lawmakers, they are pressing for investigations of Trump cabinet group chat. So this is, again, not going anywhere. That news is still out there. And all I'm going to say is they have to take ownership and accountability, because anyone who is working in top secret or in national security or national interest type jobs, or even any kind of confidential jobs, even in corporate America, anywhere, there's always this high emphasis on sharing restricted, confidential, top secret. They have all those classifications. So that's where this group chat, which is a commercial app, Signal, and those type of messages have already been now released by Jeffrey Goldberg. He is the editor in chief of the Atlantic magazine, and now it's up to the public to read those messages and then ask yourself that if anyone else who is working in these uh, high security clearance jobs and positions, and if anyone would break those rules, they would get fired immediately. And here, if there's no accountability, then we are giving our enemies, and there are a lot of enemies of America, a chance to sabotage, and then there's an Espionage Act as well, and those rules are there. So just shrugging it off and saying, "Oh, it's not classified," let the process takes its due course, and hopefully there'll be some hearings. They already had some hearings, and in fact, more questions were raised instead of answers. So again, that's up to the people to figure out and ask their um representatives, local and at the federal level as well, to make sure that we hold those who we give vote accountable. That's basically how democracy works. There's some more news in terms of Congress has eliminated courts in the past. And in 1913, for example, Congress allocated the Commerce Court, and two judges were what you call distributed to the Federal Appeals Court, according to Congressman. Um, and then I would also just, according to Congress.gov, and in 1902, Congress passed legislation abolishing the Article 3 of claims and U.S. Court of Customs and Patent Appeals, and established the Article 1 Court of Federal Claims and the Article 3 U.S. Court of Appeals in the Federal Circuit. So that's a mouthful. So what is going on? This is basically all about Congress need to act, and they have to figure out in terms of what orders from the court they're going to agree, and what basically has happened in the past, where they have actually in this particular scenario that I've just mentioned, where some of these cases were in fact ignored, and like I just read from this news article. So these are definitely interesting times in terms of the sheer amount of news that is coming out, and also with regards to the same situation, the notational idea that somehow after the fact this information was classified doesn't pass the smell test. We still couldn't get an answer of whether the phones that were being used were private phones, government phones, he said. So this is again the Democratic vice chair of the intelligence panel, Ratcliffe. He told reporters that the use of Signal to discuss planning was authorized. And then some others are arguing, or for example, Senator Warner, he was very harsh on these things. So these should be bipartisan issues. These should not be looked at just a Republican issue or a Democrat issue, and then independents, they are just going to decide, okay, who's right, who's wrong. This is where, in the best interest of national security, and by no means I'm the expert on national security, but I've read a lot on national security, and they're very smart people in this country. And definitely some eyebrows were raised with this whole Signal chat situation. So that's the pretext and context in terms of what I just shared on the screen. And then Axios basically has some more information with regards to raising rates on top earners, even if only by 2.6 percentage points. So this is where I would like to point out in terms of what happened in the past, the flashback, right? The first one was Ronald Reagan's. His signature achievement was lowering the top marginal tax rate from 70%. Imagine, that was just in the 80s. That's when he was the president. So all those of you who are young or were not even born, And those who may want to refresh our memories, important point to note that the tax rate, the top one, the 1%, their tax rate was 70%. And when President Reagan, and he was a Republican, he lowered it to 28% by the time he left office. And remember, in 1988, that's when his vice president, George Bush Sr., he became the president for one term. And then in 92, President Clinton, he came as the president. He became the president because he was the governor of Arkansas at that time. Then if Trump were to sign legislation that allowed the top rate to move upward, it would be a reversal of that pattern. So this is a very interesting scenario, even for the top earners, the 1% that we are talking about. So let's stick to the facts right now in terms of what's happening. And this country needs to be on the fiscal prudent policies. And that's another area of these whole fiasco that can be handled in a different way. But unfortunately, I'm talking about the firings and Doge and all that. Speaker Mike Johnson floats eliminating federal courts as GOP ramps up attack on judges. So this is another interesting statement by House Speaker Mike Johnson, because now he's saying, okay, we'll just eliminate the federal courts. Okay, well, if the federal courts are eliminated, then there won't be any kind of checks and balances. So it's very common sense. And that's what Americans, all of us, need to ask these questions. And those of us who are really involved and they do daily interactions, or they call the White House, they call the senators, and they call their congressmen, congresswomen, they really need to be focused on these type of statements that House Speaker Johnson, why did you make this a statement? Please help us understand that if you're going to eliminate these federal courts, then what would happen in terms of the checks and balances with regards to the executive branch, the legislative branch, and the judiciary? These are the three pillars of a functioning democracy. And then the fourth pillar is considered as the media, and then independent media, because the mass media or mainstream media, a lot of people are losing their trust. And in fact, many have already lost their confidence in mainstream media. That's why they get their information from social media or people like me. We are not mainstream, but we are mainstream in a sense that we are on social media, and a lot of people, they share. So please share, subscribe if you have not subscribed to Zishan On Air, the YouTube channel, and then connect with me on Facebook and Facebook Live as well. So interesting statement, right? And that's what the House Speaker said. So I just showed you this. Some more information, and then I will wrap it up, because there's a ton of information that is out there. And those of us who are paying attention, some information, I don't want to scare anyone, but these are very interesting information and news with facts that are coming out. Now, tariffs, April 2nd, coming up in just a couple of days. Today is March 30th. So automakers, and then their regions or their origins, and then share of US sold vehicles made in US. So this is the whole list, right, with regards to Volvo and from Sweden, then Mazda, Volkswagen, and then Volkswagen to Hyundai, Kia, Mercedes, Toyota, BMW. So if you look at these numbers, Volvo is at, obviously, below 15% at 13%. That increases a little bit to Mazda. And then when it comes to Toyota, they're at 48%, BMW obviously at 48% as well. And then obviously from Germany, GM, US, they're over 50%. Then Nissan over 50%. Subaru is coming at 56%. Stellantis, multinational, they are at 57%. Honda, Japan, obviously from all these numbers to 64%, and then Ford, obviously US, 78%, and then Rivian trucks and Rivian vehicles and Tesla, they are 100%. So this is the share of US sold vehicles made in US. So this is their share. So this is very vital and key information that I've just shared. And President Trump already announced that he will impose 25% tariff on all automobiles. So now he has also asked the CEOs of the automakers that don't raise prices. So some are asking this question that it's free enterprise, and how can the government say to these private corporations that don't raise prices? So interesting question, right? An interesting situation. But the sellers, they have to pass on the cost to consumers. So they're saying anywhere from 3,000, and in some cases 4 to 5,000 to $9 and $10,000. That would be the increase in an average cost of the vehicle. So whatever vehicle that you are buying for 30,000 will be at least 35 or 40, and whatever you are buying for 40 will be at 50, and so on and so forth. Give and take $2,000-3,000 here and there. Very important. So yes, in the long run, yes, you can argue that it's good for America in terms of manufacturing, but in the short term, these prices, I don't think anyone will absorb these prices. And that's the opinion of the experts as well. Many that I have read their statements, many of these CEOs of the big three and big five automakers, and that's the word of the professionals. So interesting information, and very interesting in terms of how this shapes up. And just to wrap up with regards to some other key information, there were some, I would say, articles. This one I've already shared, so I just want to make sure that I'm not missing anything here. And here I would like to just share this one more information with regards to the news. And this is where Biden, when he were the president, and we wouldn't raise the roof. So this is again the whole point of looping in the journalist and this information with regards to Signal Chat not going anywhere, because imagine if this whole episode, remember with regards to Benghazi and then those servers of the Hillary Clinton and what have you, and how Republicans they were out there with regards to this whole situation of classified information and how it was not safeguarded properly. If you reverse the tables, I think we are all smart. So that's the kind of era that we're living in. And who is fact checking and who is obviously doing their due diligence, that is also very interesting with regards to what is happening. Another important news that I've just mentioned, obviously Trump, this is from Washington Post, Trump escalates global trade war with new 25% automobile tariffs. So that's basically what I was mentioning earlier. And last but not least, I would also say this information from Florida, very interesting. And all I'm going to say is that child labor laws, what would happen to child labor laws in the state of Florida? And unfortunately, the state of Florida is going in the wrong direction with the Ron DeSantis. So Florida may loosen child labor laws as state cracks down on illegal immigration. And that's basically is reported. And that's what Governor Ron DeSantis has just said. He's saying that teenagers as young as 14, yes, as young as 14, could soon be allowed to work overnight shifts as part of an effort in the Republican-led legislature to roll back major aspects of the state's child labor laws. And the reason they're doing it, because some of the work that these immigrants or illegal immigrants were doing, no one wants to do that job. So obviously the 14-year-olds, now let's just hire them and, ask them to do these jobs. So this is what's happening. And it's happening in front of our eyes. And who basically were part of this whole chat, I would also like to point out, because this news shocked a lot of people. And again, we just have to make sure that are we literally looking at this from the aspect of each party or whatever political affiliation that we have, or are we truly looking at it as an American? So um, here I would like to point this out to people that, and sorry if I'm just trying to share information here, and if the screen goes black or what have you, but hopefully should not. It's blacked out. So these were the people in that chat: J.D. Vance, Vice President; Michael Waltz; Pete Hegseth; Marco Rubio; Tulsi Gabbard; John Radcliffe; Stephen Miller; Susie Wiles; Steve Witkoff. And Steve Witkoff is reported that he was actually in Russia at that time. And was he using his personal phone? Was he using his government phones, government given phone? We don't know. You have to ask people who are answering these questions or trying to answer these questions, but these answers need to be asked by the people, because we live in a democracy, unless we think that we're not living in a democracy. So that's another important point. And last but not least, there was a news article that I'm trying to share with you as well, that came up with the Walton family. That's right, the Walton family. Imagine that they shared this full page article, news article in the New York Times, and that basically was another interesting point. If I can find that one real quick, where I can show you that why democracy matters and why we need to ask the right questions. And if we don't, then the repercussions of those would be for all of us, because we are all in this together, and we live in a country which is the greatest country in the world, but a lot of people fought and died for this country, for liberty and for freedom. And if we're going to just give up our liberties and freedom, then are those deaths just and sacrifices were given in vain? And that's why it's so important, and it matters in terms of what is happening and how it's happening. And there are always better ways to actually do things. And at the same time, we've got to ask these questions in a way where we continue to seek answers from those who are in the positions of power, whom we have entrusted them with the position of power. And that's why those checks and balances are so important, because power corrupts, and absolute power corrupts absolutely. So this is another situation where people are scratching their heads that, okay, well, even if the intent is good, but those transparent ways of handling things and transparency is so important to deal with situations, so we do not lose sight of how we are living in a functioning democracy. That's the bottom line. So with that, all I'm going to say that look at that news full page, I would say, ad that the Walton family and this lady from Walton family also published. And I will end this before I thank our advertisers. There are three Supreme Court cases that are pending right now. One is the birthright citizenship. Number two is the firing of thousands of probationary federal workers. And number three is the cutting off federal education grants. So these are already three cases that are pending now with the U.S. Supreme Court. The fourth one that will soon be presented to the U.S. Supreme Court will be the district court judge and appeals court panel, 3-panel judges, to the Trump administration to hold off temporarily on using a 1798 wartime law called the Alien Enemies Act to deport people. And this is blocked until April 12th, the federal judge, and extending the temporary restraining order. This will soon become the fourth case after this April 12th extension will expire, that the U.S. Supreme Court will have to decide. So very interesting weeks and months that are coming up, and this is just a start. So don't be scared. There's no point of scaring anyone. The whole idea is that they've got to make sure that we live in a transparent way of functioning democracy and functioning governance. With that, I would like to thank all of our key advertisers. Because of them, I'm able to provide you the key information. And like they say, democracy dies in darkness. And we've got to make sure that you also support these people. And then this was the article that I was talking about, USA, and this basically was paid for by Christy Walton, and I'm sharing it on this what you call on the screens. Those who can watch me live, you can see this one, the Statue of Liberty, and then very good questions that have been asked and raised here. And I'm not going to read the whole thing, but if you read it, you will definitely. It was ending with that we are the people of the United States of America. The honor, dignity, and integrity of our country is not for sale. Show up, attend your town halls, be civil. And this was paid for by Christy Walton. And remember that not many are even having these town halls, and especially even Speaker Mike Johnson has been reported in terms of the statement that he made that don't even conduct town halls. He said that to his Republican Party and to the GOP. So people need to go and ask their representatives. And with that, I would like to thank our key advertisers and sponsors and AIT Insurance, Affordable Insurance of Texas. If you want health insurance, commercial insurance, business insurance, and especially auto insurance and homeowners insurance, and for that, call 713-785-4000 or just visit aitinsurance.com. And for auto insurance needs as well, 713-785-4000. Affordable Insurance of Texas, aitinsurance.com. Roop Sari Palace, they're at Hillcroft in Houston. And those of you who live in greater Houston area, just go to Hillcroft area. And those who are out of the state or out of the city, you can go to their website, order online. Roopsari.com, men's trendy outfits. They have shalwar kameez, these formal dresses, as well as kurta pajamas. And then for women and for girls, a lot of variety. And since it's Eid, so even those who want to have some good collection and even some after Eid and post Eid sale, take advantage of that. Mention that you have heard it with Zishan on air, and Zishan has sent you. So roopsari.com, visit them online as well. You can order online. And then famous food products, they have over 2,500 products, and they are aligned with, and their partners like Nestle, Unilever, Allegro, EBM, Dilpasan, and these are sweets, and then Shizan, K&N Products, National, Pacola, and they are located at 10507 Kinghurst Street in Houston. And call Mr. Wahid Lala, 281-568-4200, 281-568-4200. They are even they have partnerships with Sheikh Abdul Wahid from Delhi, from India, and they are very famous since 1800s with regards to desserts and sweets. So I would like to thank all of our key advertisers. Please support them and subscribe our YouTube channel. Subscribe my YouTube channel, Zishan On Air. Subscribe, share, and then also connect with me on Facebook. With that, again, thank you so much for joining in today. I will continue with the traditional media and signing off from the social media. Thank you.